Transition Awareness Breathing. Feeling grounded for both children and parents is essential for healthy living and learning. Join Eartha Powell on this series for tips and tools for creating a harmonious environment for learning. Transition Awareness Breathing will help you and your child find an individualized path to tackle change, promote lifelong learning, and discover new approaches to calmness.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast. This is Eartha. I wanted to try something different today. I thought it was important to bring a message about fear and mindfulness to the surface because of current events. And I remember a couple of years ago, I did a podcast on fear survivors. The information that I discuss in Fear Survivors is very appropriate. But I would like to add a few things before I start that broadcast. One thing to highlight is fear is a natural part of our being. It is not abnormal to have fear. It is a survival skill. However, when fear controls someone's life, or when fear promotes someone to take a life, then fear is being used as a destructive resource. Fear can steal your life. Even if one felt that they were responding in self-defense. I would like to offer that if mindfulness is used as a resource to really pay attention to what is going on with myself. Am I reacting, or is it my perception? Is it something from my past? Is it hidden anger? And so I think as you listen to this podcast, this podcast that I'm about to play, use your examples. Think of things that maybe you had fears or are having fears too. And then as the podcast continues, there are some suggestions on how to bust the fear cycle. Part of that process may include seeking professional help. Well, enough of me talking. Let's get started with the podcast. It was another night, just like the night before. It's time to go to bed, but I knew I wasn't ready. A long time ago, the thought of getting ready to go to bed was very difficult because the same dream would creep up into my blissful, restful sleep and would ruin everything. And so it seemed like just the very thought of getting ready and going to bed was painful. Welcome to Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast. This is Eartha. And I'm so happy that you're joining me. Today we're going to talk about fears and the souvenirs that fear tends to leave with us. But before I get started, I want to mention that oftentimes the souvenirs that fear leaves with us, we need help to get rid of those souvenirs. And so, if you don't listen to anything else in this podcast, listen to this. If you have souvenirs that has been left with you because of whatever fear, it's okay to get help. It's okay because there are professionals that are willing to help and can help to get rid and to help guide you to get rid of those fearful, reminiscing thoughts. And so I wanted to start off just by saying that. This is an educational podcast, and it is intended to provide information, not therapy. But my recommendation is if you feel like you need help, please do not hesitate and make a step forward to get help for yourself. The second thing I would like to say is I would like to thank Web Talk Radio for allowing me to have a platform to bring Transition Awareness Breathing podcasts to you. And I would like to thank my producers, Mary Lou and Sam, for making Transition Awareness Breathing podcast available to you wherever you're at. Let's get started. The story that I began to tell is my own story. And so we'll start from there as an example. A very long time ago, during my childhood memories, our garage caught fire. And as a small child, it was very memorable. Everything turned out okay. No one got injured. But to see the flames, and I really didn't see all the flames, maybe like a corner, but the fire trucks and the smell of the smoke, it just made a memory in my mind. And so for many nights, I had this reoccurring dream of this garage chasing me. I mean, it was like a cartoon, and it had legs, and this garage would chase me, and it was on fire. And at first, I thought it was just one dream, but this dream kept occurring over and over and over again until I just didn't want to go to bed. And so it was a fear. And it was to the point where I was getting angry. I was getting angry about this reoccurring dream. And I would have to say that the process of getting through that, I really have to thank my parents, because what they did was allow me to talk about my dreams and to move through it. But that was one part of it. The other part had to come from myself. And I'll share that a little later. So what about fear? I mean, usually a fear is born from an experience. An experience that leaves us with a souvenir that is not pleasant. Regardless of what our perception is, because what might be fearful for me may not be fearful for somebody else. And so the non-judgmental element must come in when someone has a fear. Also, the level of expectation. Sometimes a fear creeps in to our memories when an expectation was not met. Most of us are aware of the fear of getting in front of people and speaking. That is a major fear for many people. And for some, it's not a fear. The element of that piece of not having control, not knowing what the outcome will be, the physical changes in the body, the rapid heartbeat, the sweaty palms, sweat coming down from the eyebrows, and you could hear the breath coming out of your nostrils. A response of fear. Our bodies were made to handle fear in a way. Either we run from it, flee, or we freeze. We stick right there and don't move, or we fight. Running, flee, freeze, or fight. You've seen in movies sometimes where something is scary about to go on, and one of the characters in the movie, they're so scared that they just freeze and scream. What does that cause? It's like, well, move. Well, they're trying to represent, they're trying to portray that freeze part of fear. But then on the other hand, I wonder, why is fear a commodity? Let me explain. Roller coasters, scary houses. I mean, you go in or you go on a roller coaster and it just makes you so excited and you're so scared. So that feeling, that rush, the adrenaline, the sense of something is going to come out and scare you. It's a commodity. So, on one hand, we have a fear that from an experience. And then on the other hand, we have fear where people will pay dollars to go and experience. What's the difference? It's the control, in my humble opinion. When you're paying to go on a ride or a scary house, you're paying for that service. On the other hand, when we experience something that leaves us with I call it a fearful souvenir, that's not in our control. And that's what makes it so difficult, because that part of our life has been interfered with, so to speak. So, what is this fear? It's a response that the body is trying to protect itself. In mindfulness, in dealing with fear, when the body is trying to protect itself and you feel these different body changes, pulse and rapid pulse beat and the sweatiness, the breathing, the mindful breathing and getting that control of the response back, taking a deep breath in it and blowing it out. And also, what is helpful is realizing and being aware of what the facts are. What is true, what is occurring in the now was factual, and what is occurring in our maybe a perception or our imagination, something that we perceive is going to happen, but it really hasn't happened. That is also of true fear. But when we are trying to bring ourselves to calm, realizing what is truly happening now, how is my body responding to this souvenir of fear now? In my dream, I remember, I'm telling you, it was like I was getting very, very angry about having the same dream. And I remember I said before I went to sleep, tonight I'm not going to run anymore. Because I would wake up and I would be exhausted. I would be tired because I was running and tossing and turning. And that's what fear does. It steals your energy. It steals a part of your life. And I was tired of running. And I was waiting for that dream. I was waiting for it. And one night it didn't happen. But it wasn't a sense of victory because it came. That dream came again. The monster garage creeped up. And I remember, this is something, because I remember I faced that garage, that monster garage, and I said, I'm not running anymore. And so it started to run after me. And, when I would run, it seemed like the more I was trying to run forward, I was running backwards towards the garage, and it seemed like I couldn't get away. Dreams are like this. They're not logical. And that's another thing. This is not logical. It's a dream. And so even though I said I'm not running anymore, I was running, but I wasn't getting anywhere. And that's another thing fear does for us. We don't get anywhere. We stay in the same spot. But I was ready, I was angry, and I wanted to make a change. So I remember in my dream, I figured it out. I said, if I'm running forward and I'm going backwards, I'm going to turn around backwards, and then I'm going to get away from the garage. And that's what happened. I turned around backwards and I ran away, and I never had that dream again. It's not logical. It's a dream. And so, facing our fears in a way that helps us realize what is logical, what is factual, what is true, and what do we need help with. Because sometimes we don't have the expertise, or maybe we've run out of suggestions and we're exhausted because our body is so tired from dealing with this fear. It's good to get some suggestions from someone who is a professional in helping people move through the fear factor. Remember, in mindfulness and responding to your body changes, taking the breath, realizing where you're at, the awareness, and also showing yourself compassion and not judging yourself and not talking negative about yourself. And this is where transition awareness breathing is what I bring into the program, is positive self-talk, and also using concepts from the growth mindset platform. And saying that, meaning that every experience that we have can be a learning opportunity. That things are not what we say is always bad, but it is a point in time where we're moving to a new level. And so that struggle of moving away from fear into a calmness and facing that fear is not what I would term as bad, but I would term it as a strength that we're going to move to a new level and learn from this experience. And so we're building on our experience so that in the future we will not only handle our fear, but also what we'll do is we'll contribute to bringing a calmness not only within ourselves, but around the people that we are in contact with. Because when we're challenged with a fear, it influences those around us. And so when others see us handling a situation, it gives them strength. Thank you so much for joining me in Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast. Have a great week.
Be sure and pick up a copy of Eartha's new book, Tab Mindfulness, Awareness and Coloring Activities in a Pandemic World. It's not just an ordinary coloring book. It features 23 illustrations to stimulate thought, relaxation, and creativity for anyone between the ages of 4 and 94. Increase your positive self-talk energy. Unlock new creative paths. Transform your time once or twice a week to create beautiful art while strengthening confidence, building positive self-talk, and sensitize self-awareness. Tab Mindfulness, Awareness and Coloring Activities in a Pandemic World. It's available now at Amazon.com.